Go.
Good morning. Welcome to the good news for today, November the 8th. Today we're going to be reading from Luke 14, verses 25 to 35. And I'm Nikki. And
Yes.
This is...
And I'm Tim, and we're pleased that you can join us today. Nikki's going to read from this passage in Luke.
Large crowds were traveling with Jesus. Turning to them, he said, "Whoever comes to me and doesn't hate father and mother, spouse and children, and brothers and sisters, yes, even one's own life, cannot be my disciple. Whoever doesn't carry their cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. If one of you wanted to build a tower, wouldn't you first sit down and calculate the cost to determine whether you have enough money to complete it? Otherwise, when you have laid a foundation but couldn't finish the tower, all who see it will begin to belittle you. They will say, 'Here's the person who began construction and couldn't complete it.' Or, 'What king would go to war against another king without first sitting down to consider whether his 10,000 soldiers could go up against the 20,000 coming against him? And if he didn't think he could win, he would send a representative to discuss terms of peace while his enemy was still a long way off. In the same way, none of you who are unwilling to give up all of your possessions can be my disciple. Salt is good, but if salt loses its flavor, how will it become salty again? It has no value, neither for the soil nor for the manure pile. People throw it away. Whoever has ears to hear should pay attention." The word of the Lord.
Yes, thanks be to God. This passage has the subtitle Discipleship's Demands, and it's the passage is enclosed within a larger group of verses that is described as Jesus on his way to Jerusalem. So on this journey to Jerusalem, Jesus knows what awaits him there, and he wants to make sure that his disciples know what's in store. He says that to be his disciples, they must, quote, "hate father and mother, spouse, brothers and sisters, yes, even one's own life." Now, this is very tough. I read a commentary, the NIV commentary, and it says that hate is used here figuratively and suggests a priority of relationship. I asked myself the question and think about this: what does hate mean? It could be used in a number of different contexts. The simplest maybe being something like "I hate broccoli." Maybe a little bit more, with a little bit more strength, "I hate dishonesty," or "I hate evil." It would be a real stretch to interpret Jesus' words here literally, to say that a disciple of Jesus has to say to his father, mother, spouse, children, to say to each of them, "I hate you." That cannot be what Jesus is advocating here, I don't believe. So I think we have to take it into context here, take these verses in context. And Jesus knows that for his mission to come to fruition, the apostles will need to be single-minded in their devotion to him. They must count the cost, which is a little saying that is often used. You have to count the cost. He gives two illustrations here. The first illustration is that he says you don't want to start a building project only to run out of money before you can finish. If you do, all those who see it will belittle you. This definitely reminds me of the Georgian Landing apartment building that is sitting probably 1/5 completed near the Bayshore Arena down by the waterfront. We and a few dozen others had our reservation booked in that apartment back around 2017, I think. Now, it may be that the developer was overtaken by events he could not foresee, and I think that's true to some extent because COVID came along and disrupted all kinds of plans. But nevertheless, the incomplete building is an eyesore. It's in a prime location, and it doesn't speak well to the foresight of the developer there. The other illustration that Jesus gives here is a king who finds his forces outnumbered as he considers going to battle. In this case, the situation is forced on the king. Only a foolish king would try to take on a stronger foe when he is outnumbered 2-1. So it is prudent to seek peace with the stronger foe. Now, there is a more powerful one than Satan to deal with in life, that is to say, God. It is wise to count the cost of facing God. I'm reading excerpts, at any rate here, from the commentary that I looked up. There are benefits in allying ourselves with God rather than having Him as the decidedly stronger enemy. So that's a possibly even more nuanced take on the king who finds his forces outnumbered. So discipleship is serious business to Jesus. To be a disciple and complete the task, we must count the cost. It is a good idea to sue for peace and come to terms with God, but that means we must humbly come to Him on His terms. Successful discipleship requires that God be first. Those are comments that I took advantage of reading and folding into what I want to say here, because it is on the face of it a very difficult saying that Christ says here, and to make it, well, it's as is true for all things scriptural. We have to take everything together and balance things out, and not take anything completely out of context and then use it as a kind of a proof text. So that's my thoughts on that subject for today.
Rather difficult subject. However, things can be fairly simple, and I have a very simple prayer that I like to pray, and sometimes I think of it as a mantra. I ask God to know His will and to be given the strength to carry it out. That simple. So maybe if you're looking for a simple prayer, ask God to know His will and that He would be the one to give you the strength to carry it out. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
Toodles.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.